Let's ride together, we can take the world now. Let's move together, we can spread the world now. Take you all over the globe and the ends now. Aye, aye, aye. Together we can grow, we can climb the ladder. Together we can build, we be strong forever. Together we can fly, the battle is over. Aye, aye. We just the Jabulani, Hakuna Matata, we celebrated. No worries forever.
Tradition, the act of transmitting statements, beliefs, rules, customs from one to another, from generation to generation, especially by word of mouth or by practice. Architecture, the materials available to us to change the environment, and by so doing, we are influenced by our culture, our adherence to traditional values, our image of the world, and our ideals of spaces. The history of world architecture as a whole can be grouped into 5 major periods: Ancient Era, Antiquity Era, Middle Ages, Industrial Revolution Era, and Modern Era, or Technological cum Scientific Era.
Architecture is a tool to change the environment and shaping it by creating buildings and landscape. Now the Museum of Traditional Nigerian Architecture features live replicas of varieties of Nigerian building and architectural landmarks, ranging from the walls of Kanu to the Moksed Zaria and the Tiv village. It would also interest you to know that articles from the colonial times, ranging from the railway network to the tin mining exhibitions and the transportation business itself, are on display here at the MUTAN. Okay, so on today's episode is so loaded. Today's episode of A Day in Your Neighborhood, we are about to see the miniature Nigeria. Now we will go on a quick break, and when we come back, the journey begins.
Let's ride together, we can take the world now. Let's move together, we can spread the world now. Take you all over.
The Museum of Traditional Nigerian Architecture, or MUTAN, an open-air museum within the Jos Museum, recreates Nigerian architecture of the old. It exhibits the different kinds of archaeological buildings used in various parts of the country. Our journey to Jos would not have been complete without a visit to the renowned Nigerian traditional architecture described to be a miniature Nigeria. Visiting the Nigerian traditional architecture was an eye-opener as we went round the architectural pieces, as the tour guide gave us detailed information about each of the structures.
Welcome back. I still have with me Mr. Jude. Mr. Jude, we have other places in this place to visit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start.
Well, you are welcome to the transport exhibition. We call it the open air exhibition. Open air because here it is open for everybody to see. This was the vehicle that the present Queen of England, who was then a princess, used in handing over independence to Nigeria.
So she was in this vehicle.
Yes.
And when she named...
When Nigeria got her independence.
When Nigeria
1st
got
October
her
1960. Yeah.
So Queen Elizabeth rode on this vehicle.
Yes.
So it is called the Independence
Vehicle.
And
it's still in good order because when we were marking our 50th independence anniversary, this vehicle was driven around just town.
So it's still in good shape?
It's still in good shape.
Amazing.
Yes. This is the last engine that was used by the Bauchi Light Railway before it was converted to the present gauge that we have in the railway system. And this railway was extended from Kafanchan down to Bauchi, down to Maiduguri areas. Particularly it came to here so that they could use it to evacuate the tin. You know, tin is very heavy.
Yes.
To evacuate it to the south for onward transportation to England.
So this was the engine that
This
was
was
used.
the last engine that was coming. And so
In
you,
1921.
yes, that was the last time it was manufactured. It's the year
last
of manufacture
manufactured.
that is embossed on that.
1921.
But yes. Here we have the traction engine. It was used for lumbering. Lumbering, that is when large pieces of timber were cut in the bush. They needed heavy machinery to drag them out from the forest to where they have the sawmills for them to be cut into pieces for onward use. So we are moving towards the Northern Transport Company.
Okay.
As you can see, the back is open and the front is closed. Those in first class entered the front.
First class.
First class was the front, while the other ones with the luggage entered through the back.
It's amazing. So first class has been existing from way back.
Yes, way back, way back. It was a privilege to ride with the driver in front.
So how many people could stay with the driver?
Just one or two.
Okay.
Couldn't be more than two. And you could see the body is made of wood. Apart from the engine, the main body, the frame, apart from the engine area, the whole of it is made of wood, including the back.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So.
And it's amazing to know that even though it's made of wood, it's still like in good shape till today.
It's still in good shape. All it needs is a little maintenance. People, especially when we have mechanics that can repair the old Land Rover, the kickstarter is in front. So the people with that's the cranking. Those people can fix these vehicles if we can get the parts.
Amazing. So there are other exhibitions?
Yes.
Other motors?
Yes, this ends the transport exhibition except the other station of the train that will reach there.
Okay.
But interjecting is the 100 steps. We have the 100 steps.
100 steps
Steps.
to Afizere settlement.
This, yes, to Afizere settlement. And the plateau use this as their training base. You come here to train, climbing up, running up the steps, up to the top of the hill. And one interesting thing is that when you reach the top of the 100 steps, you can have a bird's eye view of the whole of Jos. You will see Jos as if you are flying over an aeroplane, looking down on Jos. So you can see the whole of Plateau.
Okay, I hope we can do that quickly.
Depends on your physique.
I am strong, that is why I'm here in Jos.
This is the very first step,
Okay.
so you can start counting from here. By the time we reach the hilltop, you get 100 steps.
Okay, so this is number one.
One, number two, so
Oh my God.
84.
Even at 84, I am panting so hard.
Yes.
How many more steps do we have
We
to
are
get to the
84,
top?
remaining about just 16.
And I still have to go downstairs.
Yes.
Okay, I have to do this because of my
But
view.
it is very rewarding when you reach up because you have a bird's eye view of the whole town of Jos.
Oh, are you serious? Okay, so
Seeing is believing.
let's finish.
Yes,
this one.
85. Still counting?
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay, 97, 98, 99, 100.
I made it,
You made it.
but I need to catch my breath.
Yes. All we need is, I'll show you ruins of the old settlement
Okay.
here. It was rebuilt, but it was gutted down by fire 2 years back. And then, of course, the rains have made the walls collapse.
Okay.
If we climb a little bit, you can see the main tank of waterboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are going for rock climbing.
A little rock climbing.
What way do
There
you
are
go?
steps we just take. Yeah. Come with me. So as you come here, you can see what we are talking about.
Oh my God, I made
Can you guess where El Buba Towers?
the
You can
the
red building. Yes. This tree is blocking the standard building. You would have seen it clearly. When you come here, you appreciate. And you can imagine before industrialization, before these high-rise buildings, you can imagine how far. Just imagine you can develop this place. Let it be like
a relaxation center.
Yeah, where you have binoculars, people could come in here and just take a view around Jos.
This is amazing.
It will be
even coming through the old part and having bushes, even covering everywhere, it's an experience for me. You know, when I saw the 100 steps to the Azire compound,
yes.
I just thought it was something. I was ready, I was so energized, and getting to the 84th, I was like, God. And when you said I had to climb the rocks, man, this is amazing. You should come and experience this for yourself. This is something you want to take out time to do. I'm having a lot of fun at the Jos Museum, and there is still so much more to show you today because we're still going to the MUTAN.
Yes,
the
that
MUTAN.
Museum of Traditional Nigerian Architecture.
Now, those are spectacular collections that are in that place. I need you, but we need to go down from this.
We have to go down.
We have to go down so that we can show you what we still have coming up next, which is the MUTAN collections. So let's make our way down.
Thank you.
But you still need to guide me.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we are down from the 100 steps to the Azire community. And now we are approaching MUTAN. So for those watching at home, what is the full meaning of MUTAN?
MUTAN is an acronym for Museum of Traditional Nigerian Architecture.
Okay.
It was designed to capture the important traditional Nigerian architecture before independence.
Before independence.
So right here, if you turn to the left, right, you will see it is the replica of the Oba of Benin's palace, as it were before independence. And it is rightly named the Bight of Benin. Here, it is a exact replica of the Oba of Benin.
Exact
replica up to the last details. Everything. It is the exact replica of what the Oba, the main palace of the Oba of Benin, was. Okay, next to the Bight of Benin, we have the Buji blacksmith compound. Buji are in Bassa local government. They are one of the ethnic groups in Bassa local government.
Okay.
Yes. So it is, if you check the style of architecture, it is mortar that is mixed with stone.
Yeah, I can see stones protruding out of the wall.
Yes, and this was to give a firm hold of mud because it's purely mud mixed with stone. And this was the style of architecture mostly in the plateau area. And so the designers of this MUTAN picked not from each ethnic group, but major landmark architectural masterpieces from each of the major ethnic groups that replicate other. Instead of picking from all the middle belt, you pick one or two. Very unique ones, and they were reproduced. As you can see from the signboard, Anaboze Buji, that is Buji compound. So this plaque was in commemoration of the Polish architecture, a professor of tropical architecture. And he died as the only authority of Nigerian traditional architecture. He went around the country and took exact replica, studied and took exact replica measurements of these buildings to come here and replicate them from north to south, east to west. Let me explain something about the Vintage Art Gallery. You see, despite the fact that the museum is only interested in antiquities, things of vintage, things of years gone by, we realized that people also come and ask of contemporary arts. And that's why this place was leased out to a private artist who developed this to sell his contemporary art. As you can see, it is situated in between. It's a privately owned art gallery. Now we are heading to the other replicas. This, to my immediate right, a replica of the Emir of Katsina's palace.
The replica of the
Emir of Katsina's, yes, palace. Okay. This door you are seeing leads to the courtyard, where, you know, the front of the building is the other side. Okay. Yeah, this is the back. So this leads to the courtyard.
Okay, so what other replica do we have here?
We have the Kano City Wall. And if it were in a state of good repair, we used to climb up so that people will see the fortification as it were. So, but when we go to the side, you have a clear shot and see how it was before the damage started setting in.
Okay.
Now, this hangar was put when it was becoming obvious that the maintenance could not be continued. The hangar was put to protect it as much as possible so that whenever monies are allocated, the repairs or the reconstruction will continue.
Okay, so we get to the side to see
a clear picture of how the thickness and the height of the walls. So you can see how
wow.
Yeah.
So this
is how this wall was built around the whole city.
Of Kano?
Yes, of Kano. Bauchi had their own. All the cities in the north that the emirs were, they had these city walls. And if you, let me show you what people have not really noticed about the walls. Ditches. This is supposed to be the outer part of the wall.
Okay.
Yes. This is supposed to be this is the outer part of the wall. You can see a ditch here, so that even when you are coming with horses, you could not
climb it.
You could not. And then archers, you see these openings. If you see the openings between at the top of the wall, those are where archers were positioned. So that if the enemy was coming, the archers hide themselves there and continue to shoot. And the wall provided barricades. And the wall was also a market. Because at the top of the wall, the whole plain side was a market. Women, people sell their wares, buy their food and other things. It was a complete market.
Every of these things that you've mentioned went on
the wall. Yes. And that's how it was around the city. People within that area would be doing their market along the city wall. Even when war was going on, because soldiers would be patrolling the wall, going up and down. So this was to fortify the cities. And for your information, architects from BUK came and to also study this because they wanted to reproduce. You know, the unfortunate thing is that the original city wall has disappeared. But in Kano, Zaria, they have disappeared.
How did that happen?
Civilization called. Because people now felt this way were too old. What do we need them for? So they were demolished. People were evacuating the laterite to fill their houses and do other things. So gradually, land grabbing, people that were connected were being allocated this place, and they came and demolished it and built their houses. Wow. So this is where we have the replicas. Wow. Then to my left is a replica of the Zaria Friday Mosque.
The Zaria Friday
Mosque, yes. Wow. So these were built to the exact millimeter, the same measurements of the traditional buildings as they existed. The only difference was that the foundations were made with modern foundations because of the rainfall and the topography of Jos. So it was only the foundations that were done to give it a fortified structure, so that the structures would stand.
But every other detail was according to the exact measurement.
To the last millimeter.
To the last millimeter?
Yes.
To the zinc, everything. Amazing.
Yes, this ditch, as we are seeing, served two purposes. One, to drain the water. It served as a drainage. But whenever the city was as a siege and people felt threatened, the people of the town could escape through these tunnels because the tunnels are connected to the city wall. So there was steps that led to the drainage, and then people could follow the drainage and escape outside the city. So this was the purpose of this drainage.
So how many feet deep is this this drainage?
Fortunately, the original one, when it was done, was about 9 feet, but you can see erosion and other things have added to the depth.
So are there other replicas in this place?
Yes, there are. There are too many for us to go through. I will just point them from you. We have the Ilorin Friday mosques over there.
And what else?
This is the northern wing. So we are just still at the northern wing.
We are still
At the northern wing
at the northern wing of the
Mutna.
Okay, so every part has
Yes,
a replica.
north, east, south, and west have their own replicas. So we are still at the northern wing.
Amazing.
So moving gradually to the middle belt, and beyond the Ilorin Friday Mosque, we have the TIF compound, just immediately after that. Then at the other side, we have the Pategi compound, which is Nupe, and we also have the Chief Ubua's compound. So
Wow,
gradually, we move towards the southern part.
This is amazing to know that we have just spent how many hours still in the northern
wing.
part of the replicas, and there is still the southern part, the eastern part, and
the central part.
the central part, and
yes,
the western
part.
part. This is amazing. Now I'm sure those of you at home be like, oh, I need to see this. Then this, for you to see every other part of this replica, you need to come to the National Museum of Jos. Now, Mutna project is so big, so much so their land space is about
68 hectares of land.
68 hectares of land. This is amazing, and everything about the nation is here. Like he said, this is a miniature Nigeria.
In architecture.
In architecture. So you want to know what your four lands used to be like, then you should come and visit the Mutna here in Jos. So because of time, we may not be able to go to all these other southern parts, eastern parts, and the western parts, even the central parts today, but we will take you to the Mbari Shrine. So we'll make our way to the Mbari Shrine. Let's go.
Thank you.
The Mutna has to its credit exact replica of palaces, walls among others, in full scale as they were. Occupying a very vast land, the initiative of Mutna here was a magnet city of intense heterogeneity, a mini Nigeria already made. We need education to solve our problems and to transform our society. I am permanently linked to Jos through education.
You are welcome to the eastern wing of Mutna. And first, we'll take you to the Mbari Shrine. Following it is the Chief Ubua's compound. And down by the back is the replica of the first-story building in eastern Nigeria.
First-story building in eastern Nigeria.
Yes. So
So
follow.
the Mbari Shrine.
Yes.
What is special about the Mbari Shrine?
The Mbari Shrine is so special because it is the only one existing today. There used to be another one in Imo State, but we learned that it has been demolished. For what reason, we don't know and we don't understand. But luckily for people who have the interest, love of Igbo culture, this is the only Mbari Shrine standing today in the whole of this country. So follow me as I take you to the location. Yes. Mbari Shrine mostly tell the story of people's interaction with their environment. And when we say interaction with the environment is all encompassing. You can see from the motif, you go around and see from the motif, tell you story of the white man, the wildlife, and other things. It could be captured in the imagination of the artist.
So you have the white man, the
Yes.
wildlife.
All anything you can imagine. Aquatic life,
Okay.
the fish, the python, symbolizing royalty.
Okay.
And you know that the python is revered in most parts of Nigeria, especially the eastern part. The python is revered, very, very.
So this was built here when?
In the 1970s. So, and it has been standing
Since 1970.
in the 1970s. It has.
So exact same measurements and everything.
Yes.
With the name Mbari Shrine, does it signify that sacrifices were made in this place?
I wouldn't say precisely sacrifice, but as you can see, it's just capturing the imagination of the people. You know, sometimes when we call shrine, people just think about ritual sacrifices. Maybe goats are slaughtered, this or that. But I have not seen a link. There might have been, I'm not saying no, but the purpose was just to capture the imagination and the cosmology of the Igbo person as he relates with the environment and as he can interpret them in art form.
So you said there are 2 more replicas.
Yes.
In the eastern part.
Yes.
Where we are. What are they?
We have the Chief Ubua's compound and then the first-story building in eastern Nigeria.
Chief Ubua's compound, who was he?
Like the name implies, he was a chief and who built a palace, a magnificent palace for himself. And it is a replica of the everyday palace of any eastern Igbo chief. So as you can see, we cannot go close and see because it has been let out.
Okay.
It has been let out for people. It is being run as a restaurant and bar. The reason is simple. We want it to be maintained. Because if you leave a building fallow, it is bound to decline. So that is why it has been rented out. Also immediately behind it, you have the first-story building, a replica of the first-story building in Igbo land. It is also let out as a bar. We go to from here, the eastern wing, we go to the middle belt wing. The Chinese restaurant that people know is also the Abuja compound. Then we also have the Patiki compound behind it, and then the Tif compound. All these have been sublet as restaurants and bar, so that as people keep them warm, the longevity of this building are maintained. Wow. So the western wing, most of them are at the foundation level. And because of the distance and time, I cannot take you there. So, but we are encouraging people who wants to. They can come at their own.
Amazing. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Like you've heard him say, there are other parts of the replica, both from those in the central and the southern part, the eastern part which we are standing on, and even for those from the west. And now if you are a Yoruba man or a Yoruba woman and you're watching right now and you want to know what your traditional architecture looks like, then you need to come to MUTAN here in Plateau State, Jos. Now, what an amazing time I had today going around the miniature Nigeria. It is amazing what we have here. This can only be, I don't know how to explain it. I need you to come and experience this for yourself. Seeing the wall of Kanu, seeing the transportation, you know, the very first rail station, the engine, a lot today, and I have been inspired. And because of time, we cannot go to all these replicas because the time is up. And this is how much time we can spend in this neighborhood of the MUTAN. Thank you so much, Mr. Jude, for taking me around. I have a lifetime experience that I will never forget. And I'm sure everyone who is watching today would always come to the MUTAN to have 1 or 2 experiences and learn a lot about Nigeria. Now, you want to learn about our cultural heritages, this is what you can learn in MUTAN. And that is why we bring it to you on a day in your neighborhood today. Thank you for watching today's episode, and God bless you.